Hello and welcome to Mr. Davis' classroom. This is Algebra 1. We are on lesson 6.6, which is Systems of Linear Inequalities. Here's your warm-up. Please work on that before you continue. All right. So our two vocab words here are going to be similar to what we had the vocab for 6.5, which is instead of linear inequality, we have a system of linear inequalities, which just basically means we have two inequality symbols now. And a solution of a system is going to be any point that makes both of those true at the same time. So that 3, 1 has to make both the top and the bottom inequality true. For moving on, we want to see what the graph of this system is. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get my graph paper down here. Okay, I'll go ahead and graph the top one in blue. So first thing we should see is that it's a dotted line because it's just a less than symbol, no less than or equal to. My starting point is at -3. From there, my slope is up 2 over 1. And we said that was a dotted line. There we go. And if I look at that, it's y is less than, and we know the less than is going to be underneath. All right, the next one, which I'll draw in red, is in standard form right now. Now, I know the favorite to do for most people is to put it into slope-intercept form first. So we'll go ahead and minus 2x minus 2x. I get y is greater than -2x plus 2. So first thing, dotted line again. Starting point's at 2. Here's my starting point. And my slope is down 2 over 1. And we said it was dotted. There we go. And since it's y is greater than, I know I'm going to be shading above this line. So that's the above side. Now, what we care about is where it's been double shaded. The double shaded area is our answer. So that's right here, which I got in green. Now, you can probably tell that already it's starting to get a little bit sloppy. And so I'm going to go ahead and back up a little bit. So let me back up and show you guys what I do to help keep my drawing clean. So we'll go ahead and get rid of, let's see if I can get rid of, there we go. There we go, get rid of you guys. Okay, so starting way back where we graphed the blue line, and at the point where we said, hey, we're shading under, what I do to keep my drawing a little bit nicer is I just take an arrow and I point down. So I know, and I might put 2, I might put 1 on each side. And I leave it as that until I get done with my next one. Well, the next one we said we graphed like this. And on the red line, we said we're going to graph above. So I've taken an arrow and I just point above. And then I look at here and I say, what section are both arrows pointing at? If we look, we can see that both arrows are pointing to this section right here. So that's the only section I'm going to shade, because that's the only one that's double shaded, and that's the only one I care about. And that whole region, that whole graphed region is the solution. So anything that's in the shaded region is a solution. Okay? All right. So here is one for you to try. Please refer to the previous problem in your notes. All right. So this one, they give us a graph, and then they want us to come up with the equation, right? The system of equations. So let's start off. We'll do the blue line over here on the right. So blue. First off with blue, I see it shaded above, and it's a solid line, which tells me that. So it's going to be y is equal to, and then we need to find out m and b. because it's mx plus b. My m value, well, it's like, if I look at how it's increasing, it's going up 1 over 1, which is a slope of 1. So I can just write 1x. And then my y-intercept, well, where does it cross the y-axis? At -1. So that's my blue line. Red line, well, y is, well, it's shaded below, right? So that's a less than symbol. It's dotted, so I'm not going to put the line underneath it. My slope is, let's see, if I go from here to, looks like crosses there, down 1 over 2. That's down 1 over 2. And my y-intercept is at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Positive 5. So those two together make the system of this graph. Here's one for you to try. All right, problem 3. All right. We have to plan what we're going to be doing after school. And the two things that we can do or that we want to do is basketball and homework. Okay? So first thing, I'm just going to call X b-ball and Y my homework. Okay, good. First thing it says is you can spend at most 6 hours daily. So that tells me my 6 is the greatest thing or equal to that I can spend doing. And that's going to be filled up playing basketball and with homework. Then it says you want to spend less than 2 hours playing basketball. Now, right here, you want to spend less than 2 hours playing basketball. That itself is an equation, but did it say anything about homework? No, so this should be a single variable inequality, which basketball's X. All right. We have 2 hours is the most that we can spend playing basketball. It doesn't say less than or equal to, it just says less than, so there's no equal to line there. The last one says you must spend at least 1.5 hours on homework. Well, 1.5 hours has to be less than or equal to my homework, right? So homework has to be more than 1.5 hours. These three equations together are going to make my graph. Okay, so let's get my graph. There we go. Let's graph those three things together. So we'll start off, let's get a quadrant square because there's not going to be negative hours playing basketball or anything like that. So we'll graph it just in the positive quadrant. So we'll start off with this top one. I know people like to get y by itself, so I'm going to subtract x each side. So I'm going to get negative x plus 6 is greater than or equal to y. Well, my starting point is 6. My slope is down 1 over 1, and it's going to be a solid line. Down 1 over 1. There we go. And since it says the y is smaller than, right? If we look, what side? I know this is a greater than sign, but it says the y is smaller, right? So if y is smaller, that's going to be underneath. And I'm going to use my arrows. Okay? And to help us think about it, this inequality up here is the same thing as y. Arrow still points at the y, negative x plus 6. So y is less than, right? So less than. I'll do the next one. I'll do this one in green. With an x with no y, that's a vertical line. It's going to be a dotted vertical line at x equals 2. So here's x equals 2. There's my dotted vertical line. And x has to be smaller than that negative 2. So x has to be this way. And then I'll do the last one in blue, which tells me 1.5. Right? And y is a horizontal line, so 1.5 is about here. horizontal line, and it's solid because the or equal to sign. There we go. And y is greater than, so it has to be shaded above. So where do all three lines point? Well, they all three point in this section right there. So that is my solution. All right, that little shaded in region right there. All right, here's one for you and your homework assignment.